Good evening. I am Jenny O'Donnelly. I'm the Director for Marketing at Missouri Military Academy. I'm also a member of our Parent Liaison team, along with one of our other staff members who's on this Zoom meeting, Rodrigo Padilla. Our job as Parent Liaison team members is to help support and answer questions for our parents. So we'll be in touch throughout the year. But Rodrigo, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course, thanks, Jenny. So yes, my name is Rodrigo Padilla. I'm actually class of 2015. I work here as well as I'm an alumni. Like Jenny said, I'll support in the parent liaison team, but also supporting the admissions office. That's my main position. But throughout the year, like Jenny said, we're helping answering questions or any help you may need throughout the school year about related with the kids. Well, we're here to help.
We know there are so many questions when you first join the Academy. We're grateful that we always have a wonderful group of parents who are there to support each other. And so tonight we have got a few of those parents here who are going to answer your questions. I do also want to introduce and point out that Dean Clement is also on the call. She and Rodrigo and I will answer questions in the chat as well. So Dean Clement, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
So she's also available throughout the year, of course. And one of the things that Rodrigo and I do is a lot of times just kind of facilitate and help make sure parents get the answers they need. We work very closely with all of our faculty and rest of our staff members. So I want to go ahead and let our parents introduce themselves who are here. We're going to start with Tiffanie Johnson. And so Tiffanie, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Tiffanie Johnson. My husband is Kevin. He's not on the call right now tonight, but our cadet is Alex Johnson, and we're from Zionsville, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. Alex has been at MMA for 1.5 years, starting in middle school in 8th grade, in the middle of his 8th grade year, and then he just finished his high school freshman year this spring. He's also currently at MMA for Summer Academy right now. So we chose to look at MMA because we knew that the environment he was in at home was not working the way we would have liked. We knew that there was more he could be learning in and out of the classroom, and he needed a place where he could gain focus and get more attention. We liked the class sizes with a lower student-teacher ratio, and that there were only 4 classes at a time or 4 periods in a day that were longer than a traditional period or at a traditional high school. So we hope that would allow him a better opportunity to learn and gain confidence in his abilities. We were also very interested in the non-academic routine and expectations. And Alex knew he needed to change, but wasn't sure about a military academy. So we visited with Alex in the fall before he started. And he said he was very interested in what he saw and thought he could meet this new challenge. We were there during a family weekend before he started in the fall, and he saw an outdoor review in addition to the tour of the campus and being able to talk to the current cadets. And so he was pretty sure that this was something that he could do. He's tried many activities while at MMA, and his favorite this past year has been Fusiliers, which is the drill competition team with rifles. He definitely would not have had that opportunity or exposure at home. He also did some cross country earlier in the fall. So he'll be starting his sophomore year and doesn't currently have a plan for what he wants to do after graduation. So it's something that I know that MMA will help him develop and help guide him through that. So, you know, he's been through like 1.5 years. I know that there are parents on the call whose sons have been there longer. So I'll kind of stop there and see what questions develop after you meet everyone else.
All right, thank you. Okay, and next I'm going to ask Dawn and Jacob Shellabarger to introduce themselves, please.
Hello, I'm Dawn, and my husband Jacob is on the call. We're sitting in the same house, just in different rooms at the moment. Thought it'd be easier for this call, but we are unique in the sense that our son Eric is a day student. So we live here in Mexico, just north of Mexico, about 10 miles from the academy. And Eric comes to school and participates in all the day activities and then comes home at night. But he is heavily involved and does all of the activities with all of the boys on campus, and they become like family to us, honestly. Go ahead, Jacob.
Hi, I'm Jacob Shellabarger. I work here in Mexico. As Dawn said, we live north of town. Our son is going to be a junior. So Eric Shellabarger, 27. something I kind of like about each of the students is you get used to the process as they tend to use their graduation year more often, which is kind of neat because you get a sense of where they are, how long they've been there, and those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm glad Dean Clement is here. I hosted a senior from Missouri Military Academy as an intern in my office. I'm the county prosecuting attorney here, and we had a student that was interested that wound up from the Kansas City area that lived on campus, and he wound up interning in my office for a while. So last fall semester, we really enjoy being a part of the community, and the community of Mexico really enjoys having your sons here. We thought it was a really good opportunity for our son to learn from some of the world's best. The best parents choose that if they want what's best for their students, they're going to look at their options. And we decided we wanted our son to have that opportunity. Academically, athletically, socially, he's got a lot of good opportunities, and he's taken advantage of them. He's the one that's done all the work, which is pretty cool. We just get to sit back and enjoy watching him do that and follow along. So
some of the activities that he's been involved in his 2 years at the academy, he started out, he has always played soccer, and so joined the soccer team and has really enjoyed doing that. And our soccer team did very well this year. Thanks to assistant coach Padilla, who's on the call. They placed second in state. In addition, he has really gotten involved in cybersecurity. That was not an area that we had ever explored of his interest before coming to the academy, but he's fallen in love with that. And I think that's what he's planning on going into after graduation, looking at potentially Purdue, which is the top cyber school in the country at the moment.
Okay, thank you. All right, and last but not least, Jaymie Mitchell. And she is the grandmother of our upcoming Cadet Battalion commander. So I'll let her introduce herself.
Okay, so I am Jaymie Mitchell, and ignore my little apex, that's my job. As she said, I'm extremely proud that he achieved battalion commander. I couldn't be happier about that. So I'm in Branson, Missouri, but he comes from Chiniak, Alaska. And he started here when he was in 8th grade, and this will be his 5th year. So how this all came to be was that after him spending time with us during the COVID period, I had to homeschool him. And at the time he was going to a 3-room village school in Chiniak, literally only 18 kids K through 12. And he was really going nowhere. And he was just coasting through school. So during that time, I got to know his passion, which was for the military. And I mean, he was a military historian, just loved it. And as we were working through all of his reports and things he was doing on that, it made me realize that, maybe he's going to be interested in an academy later on. And when I looked up military academies, I was totally expecting college, and I found MMA. As soon as he saw it, he said he had to be here and he had to go to this school. Well, I couldn't have been happier. So after a year of trying to get his parents to say, okay, he did start, and he's never looked back, and it's been fantastic. I researched everything as well before having him come, because of course, when you are having to convince the parents, it's different when it's the grandma who's going to have him close. But having him leave Alaska and come all the way down here, knowing full well that they're not going to see him for until Christmas, was the hard thing. So he jumped in. He focused. And when he got here, he had never been in any activities up there. He had lived way out in the bush. So there was no athletics, there was no teams or sports growing up at all. I don't even know how many times he'd thrown a ball. It was mostly hiking and fishing and camping, those kinds of activities. So he gets here, and first thing he became was the manager of the football team. And he knew nothing about football. He never watched football, but he just, gave him an opportunity to become involved and get to know some of the kids and know some of the coaches. And it was really good for him. Then he also chose the Fusiliers, which he's heavily involved in. He's in the armed exhibition and then the armed regulation, and he does the armed inspection as well. And the nice thing is somebody who's been isolated on a little island of Kodiak, all of a sudden he's getting to go to national championships. He went to Denver and Florida, Denver twice and Florida once. And he never thought that would ever be possible. He also loves to sing, and so he's in the chorus. And that also brought him to 3 annual military school band and choir festivals that have been, 2 of them were in Virginia and another one was in California. He also participates in ROTC Raiders and the varsity swim team and varsity track. So, totally blows away this young man who was sitting in an island just a couple of years ago, not thinking he would ever see anything but the island. So that's a biggie. So that's those are the activities that he got involved in, and he's doing very well. Academics he's doing fantastic, very organized. That would never have happened where he was. He had a lot of free time to do nothing but video games. And so the transformation has been unbelievable. So.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. As you can probably tell, we've got some diverse experiences and where people are coming from on this panel. One thing that is always on parents' mind is, how is that transition going to be? And, it's not uncommon for people to have fears. I also do want to give a shout out really quick to Brenton Stuehmer and his wife, Brooke, because he's also one of our alums. So thank you guys for being on the call. And I'm sure even in your experience, you probably had cadets who were unsure about coming to the academy. So what we're going to start off with tonight, from all the questions that were submitted, we took and we've got kind of the most common ones. So we're going to cover those. If there are additional questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat and we will answer them as best as we can. We'll follow up later if we can't get to everything, but please do that. Also feel free to introduce yourselves if you would like, so we can kind of get to know you and where you're from and your cadet. But let's start with, Tiffanie, if you don't mind, let's start with you. And what was it like at the beginning for Alex when he first came to the academy?
Sure. So I don't know that he really knew what to expect. We tried to talk to him about everything that we knew, but we didn't attend the military academy. We didn't know what it's like to be at a military academy. I talked to some friends whose sons attended MMA, but you just don't know. But he was gung-ho, thought this was going to be a great thing, and he did okay during his last half of 8th grade when he was there for that last part of the year, the spring semester. And he got used to how things worked, what to be scared of, what not to be scared of, who to talk to. He found some great mentors and other cadet leaders that he really, he still admires them today. They graduated and they're gone, but he got to know some older cadets really well, and they helped him along the way, just kind of mentor him through the process and what to expect. And it also gave us a chance to see what can this kid do academically without us breathing down his neck. And we learned that, there were some limitations there. And we found that the support that he has at the school academically has been very good. So when he started his 9th grade year, first year of high school, it was rough academically. I would say much more rough academically than everything non-academic. I think he wished he could just go to MMA and not do school. That's where he was at. And so it took us quite a while to figure out what he needed to succeed. And I believe that the teachers and the CLAs and us as parents really had to work together to figure out what he needed. And his semester last spring was much more successful, but it's a slow process for him academically to get this figured out. But he's finding success, and I think he's at a point now where he really wants to do everything independently, and he's getting the support he needs, which is so important. outside the classroom. You know, he's not a perfect kid. He's made some mistakes, and he's learned how to take responsibility for those things that he's done right, those things that he's done wrong. And it's really nice to see him get recognized for the things he's done right, as well as learn how to deal with the mistakes he's made. And it's been a really good place for that to happen. So I think things are continuing to go the right direction. It's a slow process, but we're seeing very positive things now.
So thank you. So Jaymie, obviously River, with coming from Alaska, had a very long journey. We do have cadets who are from all over the world, so I'm not going to say he's the farthest, but would you share a little bit what that process was like for him?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Small, tiny village coming into, I mean, he'd never been in a situation where there's 200 kids, you know, plus, and then of course all the teachers. So yes, it was exciting to him because he had been isolated for so long. He couldn't wait to meet people. And and he, because he had the dream of being a career military, he was in his element. He loved it. It was something that he wanted to do. What he decided when he first got there was he was going to look for friends that had similar goals and interests. Because that's, then he'd have a comfort level. See, people who wanted to do well, wanted to, maybe are also military minded, the ones that maybe might want to go that direction, or just wanted to embrace that kind of a culture. And he was successful in doing so. So he's all of the people that are in the top of his with the leadership are people he started school with and great friends. And so that's always very nice. And he also took the attitude that all of the teachers and staff were there to help him succeed. He just decided that. And it is something that you need to suggest to the kids. Listen, they're here to bring you to the highest that you can possibly be, to bring you to the best level you can achieve. And so he embraced that. And I remember the commandant saying to me once, he's so good natured that I give him a criticism and he just then does what I ask him to do. If you can convince the kids that's what is happening, things go great. Embrace what the gift that they're being given of all of this attention from all of these extremely talented individuals, and everything will go much, much better. You'll adjust better. You'll be more apt to make great friends that are of your interests. And that's where I really felt embracing that he was there, and that that goal that he was meaning to achieve was always in his mind. And that is one thing that River has always said, if the kids have to have a goal. And so if they don't already have one, help them find one. And even if it's a temporary one, have them find a goal that they're going towards, and realize that each one of these things that they're doing is a step towards that. And so anyway, back to the question, that's what made it a good transition for him. The fact that he was excited about new people, but also about the opportunity that he knew that he had in his hand now that he never would have had before.
Great, thank you. So Don and Jacob, your cadet's a day cadet, but there's still a transition. This is a different type of education. So I'm curious what you might have to add. And also, if I know you get to have relationships and know a lot of the other parents. So if you have any kind of instances where you can share where a cadet may have struggled more, and kind of what advice that that kind of helped them get through.
Sure. Well, we actually started looking for high school options for Eric because of our local school system not being up to where we would like it to be. So we spent about 18 months digging in and trying to figure out what to do for high school, and Eric was involved in that process through the entire time. And We took a couple tours of the academy and talked to a lot of people. And so he had buy-in because he was a part of that process as well, although we had the final decision, which he knew. And that first semester, to be honest, was challenging and difficult because it was new, it was different, but we had agreed that we would reevaluate after a year. So we went through that first semester. Academics were great. He loved the small class sizes. He loved being challenged. But it was hard because it was new and different, just like any high school would be. But when semester break came, he was all about next semester. And that shift in his mindset was very evident. And so the first semester wasn't the easiest, but we stuck it out because that's part of life. Not everything is easy. And so it was a life lesson for him. But he did come to realize that this is where he wanted to be and what he wanted to do. But it did take that first semester to get there. We are very involved with the academy just because we're close. And so I've got a lot of parents that have my phone number, and we text or we email back and forth or different things. And we get to know a lot of the cadets there on campus just because we're around and go to activities and that sort of thing. And we've had some of them in our home over breaks and that sort of thing, just to give them a place because they're not able to go home during those breaks. But it's just wrapping them around, just like any mom or dad would do. And we've got a younger daughter who is the little sister to all of the boys, and she treats them just like her big brothers. Rodrigo's laughing, but she told the soccer team what they were going to do and how they were going to do it part of the time. But, we just surround those boys with love and encouragement and a crying shoulder sometimes. I had a lot of them crying on my shoulder when we didn't win state. But, just being that family mother figure in a temporary spot when their parents aren't necessarily always right there for them. So, Jacob, I don't know what else you want to add.
Yeah, I think the community of men that's going to come alongside your son is really interesting to me, and that's good to see in the community of men that are going to support your son here. I mean, there's the athletic coaches, there's the CLAs themselves, there's the activities director,
Advisors.
Yes, yeah, and your academic advisors and the teachers. I mean, they're all going to know him on a first name basis. They may call him by his last name, or they may have different things they want to be called by them, but they're all interested in what makes them tick, what motivates them, what gets them going, what's going to make them successful. And as Dawn said, one of the transition points that we noticed when we got started was how much he was able to see what he had done and earned. I mean, one of the big posters, in the academy is, I am the master of my fate. And these guys take ownership. And the men and women at the academy are going to help them build that accountability and ownership themselves. Some of the early experiences that they're going to have show what they are capable of and what they can do. And when they're encouraged by their peers and they're pushed by the advisors and coaches and everybody else, there's really individualized attention that helps them grow as young men. And that's been encouraging for me as a dad to see. And I have spoken to other dads about that too, that, that's a good opportunity for them to grow with strong role models that are going to help them really develop the total person. And that's something I think is valuable beyond the classroom. Classroom's great. There's a lot of activities in athletics, and they're going to be busy all the time, which is also helpful.
Jenny, I want to add one more thing. It's an adjustment for the kids, but it's also an adjustment for the parents. And so I would encourage you to get to know some of the other parents, exchange contact information, because it's nice to have a group that you can go to and say, okay, here's what I'm experiencing. Have you heard anything from your son about this too? And just commiserate and have your own support team behind the scenes, because it is different not having your son at home. And yes, ours is at home at night, but we still experience some of the same things. And I communicate with a lot of parents that are away and aren't here on it all the time. And so just building that parental support network as well is, I think, vitally important.
Okay, thank you. And to kind of jump from something that Jacob said there about they're busy all the time. let's shift to what does the fall semester look like, particularly for a new cadet, because it is a transition and it's a lot of change. So Jaymie, I'll let you go first this time if you don't mind, if you can share what it's like from your point of view.
So, it's, you're used to having them at home in the summer, or you've been spending a lot of time, and all of a sudden, boom, they're not there. And then they are disconnected from us for a while, because they've got, some of them are at Cadre Leadership Camp. Some of them are just coming in and getting used to the new environment, getting everything put together. So they're, again, like she said, extremely busy. But and so that time and before they get into their classes, and they're taking their standardization tests and all that. So you just don't hear from them for the first, for the first, couple of weeks. And it's really, was the hardest thing for me, is I want to check on them. I want to check on them. And so I found that getting used to the flickers, getting used to looking for pictures for them. It was something that helped me adjust to the fact that they're in there for their fall schedule, I should say. And especially when they're coming into the maroon stage, and they're doing, they're the new cadet. That was the hardest part for us and the family, is him having that limited conversation for a while, which is really important for the bonding time, for them to bond to the new cadets. That's where they start to make their friendships and their connections. And so that timeline for new cadets is really important. I've got my other grandson, I'm hoping is going to be joining this year, River's younger brother. And he's much shyer than River. And so I want to make sure he's there for that, because I don't want him to miss that part about building that friendship and finding his groove with everybody else while everybody else is struggling, because that's a common feeling that they're having. So and that will build that relationship. So anyway, I made sure that I had Zoom set up. Was another thing, is in the fall semester, so I could email and say, can you do Zoom tonight? Can I talk to you for 10 minutes? Can we, whatever. And some, then he would try, but he at least try and give him prompts. I only usually expected 1 or 2 words, is what I pretty much wanted with their time and with how busy they were. In the subject line of whatever I put in the subject line of the email is the only answer I got. So, but it's more of a adjustment, I think, just an adjustment for us as the parents, grandparents, than it is, because we have time to think about it. I think they're so busy that they don't think as much about it. But it's not, again, and I don't mean to be stammering. I'm trying to think of the right things to say here. I'm trying to think back 5 years for some of you, because you get to the point where you're in the end game, and it's harder to remember all of those things. But once they get through the crucible and the maroon stage, they're gelling. And it's really pleasant to see. One thing I want to mention from when Dawn and Jacob were speaking, the award system and the acknowledgement and the merit. When you've been in a public school system for a while, and you don't get recognized for the things that you do right, it just is another day. When they start getting the badges and the ribbons and the acknowledgements of all the things that they're doing right, I mean, their confidence all of a sudden they realize what I do means something. And that is a beautiful thing to see when all of a sudden they just start growing into their being, they stand taller. They're just, they're confident, and they know that they can do things that they didn't think they could do before. So anyway, that's that's what I always I watched. That's what during that first portion of every year, because then they have to get back in the groove again when they've been gone for a while, get back in that groove again. No, I'm obviously a big fan. So it's hard for me not to be excited about, what this school can do for young men. And so anyway, the fall is the hardest. The first fall is the hardest. Just getting used to the system.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Tiffanie, can you add a little bit about your experience with that first year as well, and what you recall?
Sure. Yeah, I did see the question in the chat. And so as far as the student support team, I wouldn't say there's somebody that says, okay, this is this student's team and they're specifically assigned to look out for a certain student, but it's a combination of many individuals looking out for every new boy. And it's not just the adults around that are looking out for the new cadets. It's the leader cadets, the older cadets, the cadets that have been there, that know what they're going through. They're not shy about helping out the new boys. In fact, they really enjoy helping out the new boys. They feel it's their responsibility because they were there once. So a lot of support comes from the other students, the other cadets. And I also know that there are many CLAs, the Company Leadership Advisors, that they keep a close eye on the cadets also. Even though there are a lot of them to look after, they're going to notice if something is not going the way it's expected to, if there's something they need to talk with parents about. And so that support is there as well. And same thing in the classroom. The classes are small enough that the teachers get to know the students really well, and they can tell when something's off. And I remember in the spring, maybe it was like at the end of last fall, we were there picking Alex up from something, and the cadets had just had a party, and one cadet wasn't feeling well, and all that cadet had to do was walk towards the CLA who's in charge of the barracks that day, and he knew something wasn't wrong. This kid didn't feel good. He sent him to the health clinic. And there's also, I cannot say enough good things about the health clinic and the staff there, the nurses that are responsible for making sure that your kid gets attention when something's when they're not feeling well, or they have an injury, or they need just regular medication. They are amazing. It's just a lot of individuals that are looking out for all of the cadets. So hopefully that answers your question, as far as what the cadet support looks like. And then, if it doesn't, just let us know, and I'd be happy to talk with you some more.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Don and Jacob, would you like to add anything to that?
Real quickly, I think two things. I put in the chat that everything is earned and nothing is given. They get recognized when they do well, and they earn everything they get. They earn privileges. They earn, if they don't behave, they earn discipline, and they have that discipline. They keep it within themselves. And when you see the difference as they first come on campus, and then when you see them at Fall Family Weekend, and then when you see them at Christmas break, you see that brotherhood that they build together. I'm glad Coach is with us, because Coach knows, one of the unique challenges of MMA athletics is that all of these boys are coming, all these young men, all these cadets are coming from all over the world, and they have 2 weeks to get ready to compete, essentially, on the same playing field as public school students and private school students who've been training together and playing together their entire lives. And one of the fun things about being a part of the soccer family at MMA is that Coach Padilla has a unique challenge of all these boys are coming in from all over the place, but the only language they all speak together, some of them, is soccer. And so getting them the chance to get out and play and be involved together. Last year's soccer team, we had kids from 5 different countries. We had kids from 19 states. It was just all over the place. Our goalie last season was from Rwanda, and that was a very different experience with him. And the guys learning and building and growing and living together, that creates a really unique opportunity. And it's particularly strong in the fall when they're coming out of summer and they're all involved in all those outdoor activities together and doing stuff together. It is hard not to hear from them and see them and maybe not be able to communicate as much, but we have it's really wonderful to watch them all come together like that, all be guided, not just in the classroom, but out on the athletic fields and in the dorms and all their experiences together. They really gel. And if they don't gel, someone's going to encourage them and they're going to get the support that they need to be successful.
I'll just add too that the teachers have been wonderful. The small class sizes, they really get to know each student individually. And I had teachers reach out, when Eric was having an off day or something seemed to be bothering him, just in communication with us, wanting to make sure he was okay and looking out for his best interest. And they were great at helping us when he wouldn't talk to us, but he'd talk to them. And so it's really a team effort. And I found that all of them responded to emails very quickly and were very responsive and very helpful because they really, truly are looking out for the best interest of your son.
Thank you. Sorry, Jaymie, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to add about the emotional support and economic and the academic support. The emotional support part. So what is remarkable about MMA is that obviously family things are going to happen to all kids. You're going to have a grandparent that passes away. You're going to have, my sister passed away during this time. And so, River was there and he had been spending the summer with us and with my sister. She had died of cancer, but when she passed away, he had to go back to school, after the funeral, and the support for him was remarkable. He had a counselor that helped him, manage this. It was when he was in his 8th grade year. How to handle that. I mean, that was the first one they ever had to handle. I can't tell you how wonderful they walked him through that process. So that foundation is there and it's a strong one. And same with the teachers, when, especially with something like that's going on, there's grace given, to give them time to, and then also to catch up if they need a little more assistance, because it can be traumatizing and situations just happen. And it's not just one or two people, it's the whole group. It's all the CLAs, it's the faculty, it's the teachers, it's everybody that is aware of the situation and help them through it. Academic, tremendous. Now, again, coming from a small school, you've got a young man who has not had the thorough education of like math and the reading skills and things like that. And so what I found is that they broke it down to, like for instance, the math, the algebra. I really liked the fact that it was broken up into an AB, so that it gave time for the ones that weren't maybe up to speed. Great. And I also love the block system. I find that I even had difficulties in school when I'd have, you'd go to one class, you were there for an hour, and then you'd have to go to another class and switch gears. Just when you're starting to get into that subject matter, the block system really helps them stay focused, get it into their head and get it locked in so they understand it. I think the block system for boys especially is a great thing. So and the teachers walk you through it. Sitting in some of the classes during Parents' Day is very beneficial. You see how it happens. And I really, really like it compared to what I experienced in public school. So that's my comment.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing. I do know all the faculty and staff do embrace the cadets. We wish tragedy did not happen, but they will and they do. And so we do our best to support the cadets. I do want to mention, you may have heard some different terms, and as people are talking, part of the education of MMA for families is learning all of our acronyms and all of our different terms. So hang in there. You do figure it out, and we are here to help. One of the things that Jaymie mentioned was the crucible. I did put a link in the chat to what that is. When new cadets come in and they participate in the maroon phase training, that's just for new cadets. And that's, they've got some limited privileges. They're very much focused on learning the ways of MMA, the traditions, and how we do things. The crucible is the capstone for that. And it's a very special milestone for them to achieve. I also added a link to a video we did after the soccer team finished second in state to kind of bounce off the Shellabargers there. I personally had such a good time talking to the cadets that day and just hearing the camaraderie come through and how they interact with one another. Because that's the other piece of this where, and I know the parents have kind of alluded to it, but just the fact that because the cadets live in the barracks together, they do become brothers. And so they've also got that support network, which is very, very special as well. So one of the common questions that we get asked a lot is just what's communication like, particularly from teachers, and kind of how do you follow along and know how your cadet's doing? So Tiffanie, since you kind of started and commented on that early on with your experience, would you please share?
Sure. So they have a system, just like probably, every public school does, where you can look at electronically look at your child's grades, and every assignment that a cadet completes and gets graded on appears in this system. And I mean, you can look at it every day, every week, or not at all, depending on what you need to do for your student. And what the teachers do is, if an assignment is graded and they think that there's something that the student could benefit from knowing, they'll put comments in there. So it's not just a grade or a number, but if you click on the details of it, it'll say, did not follow all the instructions, or did a great job with following the instructions. I really enjoyed reading this. Next time you need to do this. And if the cadets look at that, if the boys look at that, it actually, it helps them out. So, but part of that is, also teaching the cadets to use their resources, to look at their grades, to read the comments, to try to figure out how to do everything they're being expected to do. And any time that we've had a concern, and it took us a while to figure this out too, I was like, what am I supposed to do at a boarding school, a military school? Am I supposed to call or email the teacher and ask them a question, or am I not supposed to do anything at all? Well, it's just like your kid is at any other school. The teachers need you to help get to know your child, to help communicate where they're struggling, to let you know what's going on, and for you to be able to ask those questions. It's a very open line of communication, and the teachers are very responsive, and they're looking to figure out how they can help your son succeed. And every student, every cadet has a different path. Some are going to go into military academy. Some are going to go to, a four-year college. Some are going to choose like I know there was a cadet that graduated this year is going to a welding academy but is doing amazing. I mean, they all help them find what is it that makes this kid tick? How can we help him be successful? I've been amazed at how much effort is put into that and how important they feel the parents are in the process. So you're not just dropping your kid off and saying, all right, see you in, next year, or, in 4 years when you graduate. You're definitely a part of the process.
Thank you. Dawn and Jacob, would you share a little bit too?
Fine. Are you waiting for me to answer, Jacob?
I was.
Okay. The community there at the academy is just very supportive and open, and we've used the same online system as well. We email the instructors and really just work together as a team to do what's best for Eric. And it's amazing to see what he's accomplished, and it's incredible to think about where he might go because of the pushing that the academy and the staff have done of him, that, you know, he wouldn't have gotten other places.
Yeah, the advisors, the teachers, the registrar, I mean, they're absolutely committed to figuring out what's the thing that's going to make them successful. How do you define success for them, and how do they define success for themselves? What are the different ways we can get there? How can we get there? And they're very proactive about doing that. The advisory period is a part of every day. Even though it's block, it's a short period of time where they're all together and they really get to know each other in advisory, and they get focused attention there, and also the rest of the way through the classroom. And that's been something that's very easy to use. I can keep an eye on it. Every day I ask him what's done, what do you need to do, what still needs to be done. But they're trying to build that interior framework so he can get done what he needs to get done when he needs to do it and feel motivated himself to do it. So it's neat for him to be able to see the tracking stuff that we're looking at, but also have a team that's going to push him toward those goals.
Great, thank you. All right, Jaymie.
Okay, yeah, and again about the advisory. I mean, if I ever had a question about how's he doing, is he doing all right? Yeah, I would send it to the advisor, and then I get an email back from the advisor. Oh yeah, doing great. Or he's feeling a little cruddy today. He seems to have a cold or something. I would get it from the advisor. That would be the easiest way. Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Like was said before, we're partners with the teachers. So many times when the teachers have spoken to me before, they've said, we appreciate you checking in. We appreciate your engagement. We appreciate that you are part of the team here. So don't disconnect. Make sure that if you have a question, just pop an email. And what's nice about the Blackbaud system, that's the system that you're logging into for his grades, is that there's a place right there. So if you see something in the grade, you can email the teacher right there, from that spot, and pop a little message off, and they are very responsive. I don't think I've waited more than a couple hours for a response majority of the time, depending on what's going on. Of course, if there's activities, it's different, but no, they're very responsive. They love the fact that their parents are involved. And you really, after they've been with your child for as long as they have, man, you really become friends with those teachers, and they know what to expect from you as well. So yeah, just tap in and stay connected.
I'll
you.
add too, Jenny and her team do a fabulous job of keeping parents up to date of what's going on, and Matt takes pictures and they get posted on Flickr. So even though you may not be here, you get to see what all's going on, and they post things quickly. It's not like it's once a week you get an update. It's daily, whether it be through the Facebook page or through email, or through Flickr. And I just encourage parents to check all those things out to keep up with things.
And I do want to thank Dawn and Jacob as well, since we try to be at as many events as we can, but with as many athletic events that we have, we aren't always. And some of our parents, such as them, will take some extra photos and share those as well, which is helpful and appreciated too. So next question is a little bit kind of bigger, and it's what kind of changes have you seen in your cadet since he's been at MMA? Tiffanie, do you want to start that one?
Okay, say that question again.
What kind of changes have you seen in your cadet since he's been at MMA?
Okay, so I think he's gone from being, he used to think he was just dumb, honestly, and he doesn't think that anymore. He's seen what he can do. He's doing much better than he was here at home. And he's proud of himself. And it's not just in the classroom, but it's every day when he walks, around on campus or he's in the barracks. He knows that he's doing something right. Maybe not always, but he knows when he's doing something right and he gets recognized for it. He was so, his biggest goal is I don't want to get any, what are those things called? I don't know, it's tours, that's what it is. Yeah, so they have a system where if you don't follow a rule, you get something called a tour, and you work it off where you maybe help do chores around campus, or you help open the door at the barracks, or, something that shows that, you've got to take responsibility for not following the rules. And so he sees that when he's doing something right, he gets privileges, they get to have their phones on the weekend, or they get to go on a field trip. And he's seeing all the things that he's doing right make a difference. He also, I would say, definitely had always been a follower. He would join in, do what everybody else was doing, or try to find somebody that he thought was cool and do what they're doing. And I've seen a lot more now him starting to become more of a leader, and not basing his decisions so much on what he thinks others want him to say or want him to do. It's a slow transition, but I am starting to see it. So I think both of those things are happening because he's been at MMA.
Thank you. Jaymie, how about your experience?
Wow. Okay. So the first year, I think River arrived and he was 5'8" and about 230 pounds. So he was a big boy, and maybe 5'9" he might have been. Anyway, after at the fall family weekend, his first year, he was down 35 pounds. I could not even find him. In fact, it was Jennifer. She was out taking pictures, and they had just marched in, and River wears glasses, but he decided not to wear them that day. So he walks in, and that you'll see the picture in our profile where there's a picture of him. And I could not find him in this sea of blue and white, and I could not find this young man. I was looking for my chubby little grandson, and that was not who I found. He was fit, looked great, and he was looking sharper than I'd ever seen. And so that began his process of caring about his health. Up until then, he was a couch potato. He just didn't even care. But now he's 6 feet tall, and he's a bodybuilder, and he's in sports. And I mean, it's just, and that's just the physical side of it. When I watch him, we went to a college this summer to walk through, and as he's walking through the school, he just towered above everyone, just the way he walked, because he walks, even if he doesn't have his uniform on, he walks like he does have it on, and I just noticed it was just different the way he carried himself. And it's so beautiful to see when they go from not having any self-confidence at all to being totally comfortable in their skin. And it's remarkable. The manners, the manners. One other thing, we were at one of the events, the dinners at the alumni, and he had gone through the life skills class. And when he got up to leave, he did what he was supposed to do on his plate by crossing his utensils. And we happened to be sitting next to the teacher, Mr. Schaefer, who taught the class. And I saw that, and I nudged him, and I said, "Hey, look what he just did." And he goes, "Oh, that just blesses my heart." that they heard it, that he heard it, and he actually did it without it. So the nice thing is that it's what they learn, they are keeping, and not just learning it to get through. And so that's remarkable to me. I am just watching them do their work and the respect between the teachers, and it's just, I mean, yeah, the young men that they come out as is remarkable with what they've learned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Jacob?
Yeah, confidence, focus, and how he carries himself. That's one of those things that the other folks in Mexico know. If you see Academy boys walking around, they carry themselves different. They take care after themselves. They clean up after themselves. I mean, there can be a whole bunch of them go through one of our shops in town, and there could be 50 of them show up to eat cookies down at Cookie Club, and then they'll be gone, and there won't be any evidence they were there at all. They'll be like, other than the trash cans all full of cups and everything else, and spoons and napkins and everything else, they just carry themselves different and take great pride in their appearance. They respect the traditions of the academy, and they also, I think they like Mexico. I mean, they get a chance to get out and enjoy and get some leave time too. That's a privilege that they earn with time. There's a Sonic close to campus, and so they can earn the privilege to go out to get there. And I don't know, I'd love to get a piece of their action on Sunday afternoons, just getting a nickel off of each one of those drinks that gets sold over there. But Eric walks taller. He has eye contact, and it's really neat when you walk on campus and you talk with some of these young men, and they'll look you in the eye, they'll shake your hand, and they'll say, "Yes, sir." And it's not that I need that formality, but it's that confidence that they have in themselves. It's the ability that they have to be able to look someone in the eye and be a functional person and have that enthusiasm and interest in other people and the way they treat each other. They learn inside the core, they learn those values of respect and discipline and focus. And there's a lot of tradition here, and the boys enjoy being a part of that, and it's instilled in them, of course, but they enjoy being a part of that, and it's a lot of fun to watch them grow.
I'll add to that Eric was a little different. He's a very high achiever and expects perfection of himself. And so coming to the academy, he's learned that, that's not really attainable. And some of his teachers have figured out that that's what he strives for and that's what he expects of himself. And so we're helping him, as weird as it sounds, lower that standard a little bit to help him figure out that he's not going to be that and can never be that. And it's not healthy for him to try to continue to achieve that. I mean, there's an instructor that figured that out early on and told him, "You'll never get 100% on anything in my class. You're not perfect, and I will always find something to take a point off on." And that sounds weird to say, but it's been very helpful in his growth and maturity as well.
Great, thank you. So we are at an hour. I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time. I'm going to end with one last question that hopefully can help some of our new parents as well. And that is, what's the most important piece of advice that you want to share with new families? So Jacob, would you start? We'll go backwards this time.
I appreciate that. Trust the process. There is a process that they go through. They've been doing this for over 100 years here, 137. This is the 137th Corps of Cadets. They've been doing this a long time. And folks in the community know that there's a process, that we're happy to welcome your folks here. And, trust the process. These guys know what they're doing. Guys, gals, everybody is focused, and their mission is developing these students and these young men into exceptional young men. And whatever that means for them and you and the academy, they all come together to make that point.
I would say stick with it. Life is hard. And the first semester that these boys are there, it's going to be hard. But if you give in, what lesson does that teach them? And so that's what we had focused on with Eric initially through that first semester when it was difficult, that, things get difficult in life and you've got to figure out how to overcome them. and he did overcome them and has been very successful. So that is my thing, is just stick with it, find your support team, reach out to other parents, communicate with the advisors, the teachers, the CLAs, you know, anyone at the academy, whether it be sports coaches, that sort of thing. Don't hesitate to reach out, but just stick with it, because it does get a lot better and they will be better for it.
Great, thank you, thank you. And Jaymie?
Yeah, I agree. The process is very important. Keep in mind that they're going to be adults a lot longer than they're going to be children. And so this process makes them become the reliable and responsible adults that are going to have families and jobs and be involved in their communities. So this is foundational, and it's got to be learned. If it's not learned, the opposite could possibly happen. So give them the foundation that they need to be those adults and contributing to the future of this nation. We got to have some good, strong leaders out there. And I am very hopeful with seeing the cadets, these cadets here, and also when I go to places like Fusilier drill competitions and see other cadets that are doing similar things that they're competing against, that this nation is going to be in some good shape. It's very impressive, and you will get chills when you see it, when you see the men that they are becoming, and when they finally reach that, and that will give you great peace. So yeah, keep your eye on the future and help them to keep the eye on the future and realize that, yeah, that's the end result is what they're going to be later. So.
Thank you, appreciate it. And Brenton, did you want to add something as an alum?
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I went from 94 to 97, so it's been close to about 30 years now but I go back pretty much every year. My wife and I, after I got out of the military, actually lived in Mexico for a good eight years. And so we're in the community, we're in Mexico, seeing our brothers every whenever they got in town, if they wanted to hang out. So to this day, I serve as one of the members of the board alumni. And what that means is you're giving your time, talent, and treasure. So those that can give their time back to the academy can do that. Those that can choose to donate back to the military, they can do that. And then their talent, if they have any talent that they went out into society or wherever they serve, whatever they do, if they want to bring back to the military, to the academy, they do that also. And that's what I like the most, is the brotherhood that I've had over the last 20, 30 years, that I can, if I have any questions, or if I'm down, if I'm out, if I need someone to talk to, I know who I can reach out to, and that's that brotherhood. And I just and that's Maxwell's my youngest son, and we have I've been pretty honest, pretty blunt on my experiences, and he's been back to the academy, and we've decided this fall that he's going to start his freshman year at MMA. And so that, on top of my wife, this is Brooks. Hi. She serves as so they also have where the wives, the spouses can also
auxiliary.
Yeah, we call it the auxiliary, where they also participate in homecoming, alumni, and stuff like that. So if any of you guys here have any questions, any concerns, any ideas, or anything like that, if you want to reach out to me, please feel free. And I don't want to take too much time. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate that. I am also going to share in the chat a link to a page that talks about where cadets go after graduation. We did have someone submit a question before about kind of, after MMA, what are some of the goals and things like that. And we have cadets that a small percentage may go into the military, much more go to college. And as Tiffanie mentioned before, we also have got some cadets that go into trade schools. And so we support all of them. But I want to thank all of you for taking your time tonight to learn about the Academy, and for our current parents to share your time. We know how valuable that is. Please do reach out if you have additional questions. We are all here to answer those as well. So we hope to see you in the fall, and yes, wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Bye.